Hello, good afternoon, good morning to good evening, depending on where you are. I'm Mónica Vedio. I'm connecting from Barcelona today. And we are welcoming you to the Info Day, Collide Info Day. This is we are in the middle of the open call of Collide International Award. And as the previous year, we thought that would be very helpful for many of you, to connect to what we do, to explain the contexts in which the residency takes place, and as well as to understand the framework of collaboration between CERN and Barcelona. And so some of us are here today also to answer questions. And I will introduce you all of you who we are, and then we'll start to explain briefly and contribute briefly from our positions about Collide and how we do it. So I'm Mónica Vedio. I'm the head of arts at CERN. I've been running the program since 2015, and I curate as well the residencies as well, and the commissions that we run out of the residencies. Julia Miralles is here with us, is the Chief Science and Universities Officer in the Barcelona City Council. Julia is the brain behind the Collide International Award in Barcelona, and she will explain us a bit about why in Barcelona. Then we have Luis Nacenta, the director of Hangar. Hangar is this amazing place where the artists spend most of the time. They have a studio in Barcelona in their headquarters in the neighborhood of Poblenou. So Luis will explain what Hangar is and how we can help and they can help their team to the artists while they are here in Barcelona. And then later, the microphone goes to Tamara Vázquez-Schroeder. Tamara is experimental physicist working in the Atlas experiment and at CERN in the trigger system. And Tamara will explain us what her job is about. Tamara has been involved in the program for many years, so it's an important voice for you to listen to. Xavi Luri, director of ICUP, the Institute for Cosmos Science in Barcelona. So between CERN and Barcelona, we have key scientific partners for the artists who will eventually come for a residency with us. So Xavi is someone you definitely need to know, as well as the science and the institute, what they do, what they are looking for in the research. So I will give the microphone to Julia, and then all of us will speak at the very end, but stay with us because it's the most important moment, I think. We will respond questions. We will be alert, attentive. Anything you want to send us, please send it in the YouTube channel. We will be replying to these questions and interacting with you because it's important for you to clear out any doubts or to know how to do the things when you fill the form, the application form. So please, Julia, microphone is yours.
Thank you, Mónica, and thanks to all of you for being here today. We are very happy to have again an opening of this Collide Award. That is an amazing program, and I really want to thank you, Mónica Vedio and Arts at CERN, to bring this project to Barcelona for the third year, and unfortunately the last one that we can host the project, but we are sure that we will keep working in other arts and science initiatives with CERN. Special thanks also to Luis Nacenta from Hangar to host for the second time the edition of the Collide, the last one, the second, that in fact is having place during these weeks. had place also in Angar, and this third year we will repeat the Angar experience. And of course, thanks to the two scientists we have here to explain the links between science and artistic expressions, and what can we understand about as arts and science, and what experiences we can have with this Collide residency. As I said, we are very happy to present this third edition of the Collide in Barcelona. And Collide is in fact part of the Barcelona Science Plan. I would like to explain you in very few minutes. I work in the part of science and university policies in the Barcelona City Council that we have been developing in the last years from based basically on the implementation of this Barcelona Science Plan. This science plan, of course, have different axes. We work on science and education, science and culture. We also work with basic science and basic research with research centers in Barcelona and the metropolitan area of Barcelona. But I'm proud to say that we have also a most innovative, I think, approach to science, that is these four axes that is dedicated to arts and science. In fact, the Collide was our first experience of policy, especially focused on arts and science, of course not of the whole City Council, because the Culture Institute had been working, for example, with places like Angar in other projects of arts and science. But I think that it's interesting to have this approach more transdisciplinary to science that makes us understand that links like the one between art and science are not only an artistic or cultural experience, but are also part of a scientific policy, in this case, a local scientific policy. I would like also to mention you some other projects that we are working on within this Barcelona Science Plan, and that relate to the Collide and to these experiences of art and science we are trying to experiment and to understand more about. In the Biennial of City and Science that we celebrate every 2 years, we had the last edition in this June. We have a special also part of the program that is dedicated to arts and science. We work with different people, artists, especially from Barcelona, that has the opportunity to show their projects there. And also we have a new project that for me is especially interesting to explain you, and where I really would like to have the opportunity to work with a lot of you, I'm sure. That is the Fundación Muñoz Ramonet. This is a new place in Barcelona. In fact, it's like an old house we have in the neighborhood of Sarrià Sant Gervasi, where we are starting to do reforms to build also a cultural and proximity project for the neighborhood. But the part I really would like to explain you is that we will do there a place for residencies of artists and sciences. We would like to have scientists and artists coming from abroad, but also from Barcelona or places near Barcelona, and to have the possibility to build projects together of arts and science, but also living in the Fundación Muñoz Ramonet. So it would be really an opportunity to exchange ideas, to exchange reflections about what is science, what means the research, and what links this can have with artistic expressions of different kinds. I think that we will have the opportunity to see this residency opened in a few years, because we are now starting the construction, let's say, of the new place we'll have there. And I'm sure that the Collide will be one of the most important examples for us to follow and to build this new project of art and science that will be Fundación Muñoz Ramonet. So just to say that we are very happy to have all of you connected and being part of these projects that link scientific knowledge and research with art and different artistic expressions. I would like also, before to end, to congratulate Rosa Megman and the Black Quantum Futurims that won the first 2 editions of the Collide in Barcelona, and to say to all of you that we hope that we have that the winners of the other editions have enjoyed this experience. But we are also eager to have some of you here in Barcelona. but especially to know your projects, because I think that also an important part of these calls is to be an incentive to present projects and to keep working on new ideas and new initiatives that I'm sure are central to build this arts and science initiative that, of course, will be broader than just the person or the project that will win this third edition of the Collide. So I'm very happy again to have all of you here and to know that we keep building new projects of arts and science. Thank you.
Thank you, Julia. So I think you already explained many things that I was hoping to share, which is what Collide is. What is the vision? The vision of Collide is to create a network, an international network that allows and encourage other institutions to open up the same kind of initiatives in which artists and scientists get together and explore not the most easy parts of our knowledge, but with ambition and persistence, they go and explore the world and nature through the eyes of the artist and science. So I think at this point, I'd like to very briefly to remind you what Collide is calling for at the moment. Collide is an annual competition. We invite artists from different disciplines from all over the world, from over 18 years old, to apply with a research-led proposal. The goal is to support a residency in both locations, one at CERN and in Geneva, and the second phase in Barcelona. In both residencies, the goal is to bring the possibility, the opportunities for a dialogue between the artist and the scientist in the centers. At CERN, many of you know CERN is where the Large Hadron Collider is, where the World Wide Web was invented, and is the largest scientific community in the world. Many of these scientists are in different cities. They have connections with other institutes. And in fact, in Barcelona, we have many people involved in CERN research or sharing knowledge and with institutes in the city. So in the part of Barcelona, it's very important for us to connect with the scientific community. And we do it with the Institute of Cosmos Science as well as the IFI and other institutes. But really what we want is to create bridges, to create a language, to raise awareness of the importance of science in culture and art in society. And so I think at this point, I like to bring Luis Nacenta to the conversation, because describing the context of where the residencies take place is very important. And I'm sure many of you have questions on these regards. So Luis Nacenta is the director of Hangar Center for Art and Research, Research and Production in Barcelona. And they host the artists in a very hands-on and makers environment. And for last year, Rosa Menkman was with you this year. Black Quantum Futurism, who was for a month already with us, is coming to Barcelona again. So this intersection between two ways of making and organizing residencies is very important. Please, Luis, take the microphone from me and explain us what Hangar is about.
Thank you, Monica. Also, thank you, Julia, for your kind presentation. It's a pleasure to be here for the second year of this involvement of the Collide program in Barcelona. So I will very briefly explain what's the role of Hangar in this program. As you know, the residency, the awarded artists will have a residency in CERN, but also after that a residency in Barcelona that takes place in Hangar. Hangar is for those who don't know Hangar, very briefly, I should say that Hangar is a project that has for 25 years now have a strong involvement with artistic research and artistic production. So we are a place where the artists come to work, not to show the result of the work. We are not a gallery, we are a production and research center. And we have a strong commitment with all the programs that have to do with the relation, the link of art and technology and the link of art and science. This is why we are so interested in participating in the Collide program. And we also have a quite long history in international artistic residencies in Barcelona, both in taking artists from abroad here to get to know and to get involved in the community, in the artistic and research community in Barcelona, and also in helping artists from here to go abroad professionally for the first time. So this is the context. The main thing here in Hangar is a residency. So the awarded artists taking part in the Collide program will be a resident in Hangar, meaning that they have a studio, a workshop, that they have resources, technological and human. So they have the help of our technicians, of our engineers, of our curators, and they have their own space to work. Also, very important is that being resident in Hangar, you get involved in a community with other artists, other collectives are working, and you can get help, conversation with artists working in software development, in experimental cinema, in bio art and biohacking, in experimentation with video games, experimentation in sounds and music and sound art. So there are plenty of fields that are happening around you when you are a resident in Hangar, and that can help contaminate, collaborate in different ways. Also, I'm speaking to you all from one of the labs of Hangar. This is the lab of interaction, and those labs are accessible to the artists to help with the development of electronics, with the development of software. So there is an engineer here that can help. Of course, the idea is not that the engineer does the work, but the engineer does the accompaniment that helps the artist to develop the ideas in a specific way. This is a very important part of the job we do here. And then another important involvement of Hangar in the residency in this program is to help to contribute in the link, in the communication with the scientists and with the scientific institutions. So we have a long relation with some of the most important research centers, scientific research centers in Barcelona. For instance, with Xavi Aluri, which we have met several times. We know each other, we are in good relation, and we have some expertise and some experience in the accompaniment of that collaboration of artists and scientists. For instance, not only in the case of Rosa Mengman and Black Quantum Futurism, but also it comes to mind, for instance, Andy Gracie, that is now a resident in Hangar. He's for a long time being a resident in ICUP with Xavi Alure. And so this is the kind of links that we have an expertise and that we can contribute in the program and help him. So I think this is very briefly, because I want that you can have time to ask questions that interest you specifically. I think this is the main frame of how Hangar is involved in the program. I'm very happy to be here and very willing to reply to your questions if you have some of them. So thank you, Monica, and back to you.
Thank you, Luis. I'm going to pass the microphone to Tamara Vázquez-Schroeder from CERN. Hello, Tamara.
Hello, everybody. So to help me, I'll share some slides. Hopefully you can see them. It's probably easier to talk a bit about what we do here at CERN with some images that can guide you and expand a bit the imagination of what you might find if you're choosing to be a resident artist. So talking very generic at the start, why exactly we built the Large Hadron Collider and what's the ultimate purpose, we really want to understand the underlying structure of nature. So you can imagine we're here on the right-hand side. This is the universe as we know it nowadays. And we want to access somehow the past. So we really want to go back to few seconds after the Big Bang, actually 10 to the minus 12 seconds, and access the particles that were present there, which are not really present in our everyday world nowadays. So for that, we build these huge scale experiments, and the Large Hadron Collider is actually only the last part of the CERN accelerator complex. And as you can see here, it's a 27-kilometer ring that lies 100 meters underground. It's a collection of superconducting magnets that have various accelerating cavities, which allows to boost the particles that we collide, which are mostly protons at the moment. And we have two different beams of these very high energetic particles that travel almost at the speed of light. And these two beams that circulate in opposite direction are brought to collide in 4 interaction points along this ring. And precisely surrounding this interaction point is where we have the 4 LHC experiments, Atlas, CMS, LHCb, and ALICE. And you can see here how this would look like, the 100 meters underground, and how, for example, the CMS detector, a sketch of it looks like. And I would like to go in a bit more detail into the structure of the Atlas and CMS experiments that are the so-called multi-purpose detectors. These are giant, sophisticated detectors that aim to cover a wide variety of physics processes. And if you look at this animation, that it shows kind of a transversal cut of the detector, you see that it has this onion-like structure with different sub-detectors in each of the layers. Each of these sub-detectors is made of a different material, and it aims to either identify a specific particle or measure a certain type of characteristic of the particle, either the energy or the momentum. So you can see I put some examples here of the type of either elementary or non-elementary particles that could be created in these collisions. And then after being created, they traverse the detector from the innermost layer to the outermost layer. And the final goal is to really gathering all this information from the various layers, try to represent the collision event as best as we can. So this also brings to the question, and is something that also interests the artists quite a lot in terms of the physics, the type of physics that we do at the Large Hadron Collider. And it's here important to differentiate also, it's not only that we have different scales of experiment, we also talk about different scales in terms of physics. We have on the one hand side, the general relativity that tries to explain gravity, and it works magnificently at large scale. So to describe, for example, the orbiting planets or colliding galaxies, or the dynamics of the expanding universe. And on the other hand side, we have the quantum mechanics, which, as you might know, it's the language in which we talk here at the Large Hadron Collider. And it's basically also the language with which we have described the standard model of particle physics, which is the best description we have to date of how about the fundamental building blocks of nature. And here, as you see, this mostly targets to describe the electromagnetism, the weak and the strong interactions. And it has worked so far very well at small scales. So either when we look at atom decays or the proton collisions at the Large Hadron Collider, but it's still one of the main questions remains how to make these two descriptions of reality compatible with each other. So there are many hypotheses of grand unified theories that try to put it together under one single description of nature, but this is still an open question. So I will actually go in a bit more detail into the standard model of particle physics, because this is really the core that we aim to understand at the Large Hadron Collider. And this is basically, as you can see here, the building blocks that we have observed and discovered to date that made up the standard model of particle physics are not that many, and they fit in this slide. And as you can see here, they have also kind of a structure. We have the so-called matter particles on the left-hand side. These can be either quarks or leptons. And even though there are different types of particles, they share some characteristics, and that's why they're organized in this way in these 3 generations. Each column is a generation, and they have increasingly, they are ordered also in terms of increasing mass, being the top quark the heaviest elementary particle. Why there is this common type of properties between the quarks and the leptons, even though they are different particles, is again another open question. On the right-hand side, you can see particles that we call the force carriers, and these are particles associated to the various interactions. So we have the gluon, which is the particle associated with a strong interaction, the photon associated to the electromagnetic interaction, and then the W plus minus and the Z boson, which are associated to the weak interaction. The Higgs boson, many of you might have heard already, it was the last piece in the puzzle of the standard model of particle physics, and it was discovered at the LHC in 2012, and is associated with a Higgs field that provides the mass to the massive particles that we see here. So I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but just so that you have a snapshot of the type of physics that we look at, one of our, of course, main goals is to discover new particles, and at the start the target was to discover the Higgs boson. How we do this, you can see this is also a Feynman diagram that represents, you read it from left to right, and represents this collision. So we have quark and antiquark that are inside the protons, they collide, and they create, for example, here a Z boson, and it's this heavy particle then decays into lighter particles, in this case, an example, 2 muons. So by looking into these muons, which are the ones that will traverse my detector, and I will measure them, if I measure the mass of this dimuon system, and this is what you see here represented, as we scan and we go from lower to higher masses, eventually you see here a bump. And this bump in the number of events that we see of collision data corresponds to the resonance of the presence of a particle there, which is precisely the Z boson. So this type of philosophy is what was used also for the Higgs boson discovery at the Large Hadron Collider with the RAN1 data set. And I show you here very, very famous plots from the 2 main channels where these were, where the Higgs boson was observed. One is where the Higgs boson decays then into Z bosons, which further decays into leptons, so that at the end we have 4 leptons here, and we can see, for example, the distribution of the 4 lepton mass. And you see very nicely here this bump that we were talking about. It's quite visually clear that there is something there, which fits perfectly well a Higgs boson hypothesis. And similarly, if we look also at the Higgs boson decay into 2 photons, and we do this same game of looking at the mass of the diphoton system, we see again this bump corresponding at the exact same mass as in the previous case. We see this bump in the data. So this was extremely exciting in 2012. The question is, what now? We're currently in what we can call an exploration mode. So we live in data-driven times, and are the experiments the one that must guide us to the next stage. As you kind of, I pointed out a bit before, there are clearly many open questions left to answer in our understanding of nature. So most likely there has to be an extension of the standard model of particle physics. There are many theories of these possible extensions. As you can see here, these are some examples of this broad and diverse research program that we have in place. Here an example of those in ATLAS and CMS. Each of these different lines correspond to the different hypothetical particles or theories that are being probed. And since so far we don't have a clear hint of a new particle being present, what we do is to set the boundaries of the possible masses of these hypothetical particles higher and higher. So you see that here we are up to excluding masses of 2 tera electron volts, which is an enormous amount it's quite impressive that we're able to already exclude these higher masses. So the adventure continues. We're of course still eager to find this new physics that extend the standard model. And I would like to point out for those, since you're applying, that it's important to know in which part of the lifetime of the LHC and also the high LUMI LHC you would be basically entering in. So you're basically here. We're in the right now finishing what we call the long shutdown 2, which was a period where the Large Hadron Collider was not running and where we were upgrading our detectors to make them more resilient and also much more efficient to collect all this data. And by the time you probably will be starting your residency, you will be witnessing a very important moment when we will be restarting operation. And this is what we will call the run 3 data taking period. So it's a really great time for you to start this project. And as you will see, also being at CERN, you will see a lot of movement going on with the restart of operations. And just to finalize, I wanted to highlight that I'm mainly focused in these few slides and the talk on the work we do in these big collaborations in the Large Hadron Collider as experimentalists. But we really have to profit from this cross-collaboration with also experimentalists working in smaller collaborations, smaller experiments, also here at CERN. There are many of them, for example, trying to understand antimatter or looking for actions. So there is really a huge diversity of experiments that you can explore once you're here. A very important component is technology. So we need to really push the boundaries of the technology, as we know, and really we have here scientists, engineers working with cutting edge technology to make the accelerators and also the detectors of the future. We have also the collaboration and the discussion with theories, which are also the ones that, taking this input from the experiments, develop the extensions of a standard model or calculate more precise descriptions of what we already know. So this communication is fundamental. And finally, art enters also in this equation, which with this type of wonderful projects gives maybe a bigger, a different way of approaching the open questions that we have and the way we approach them. And that I think in communication with the scientists can really give the answer to the ultimate question of how to describe nature. So that's everything I wanted to share, and I would be also happy to answer your questions afterwards.
Thank you, Tamara. Wonderful presentation. So I'm going to bring to the virtual stage Xavi Luri, who might help us with this part of general relativity, the larger scales, which is what the ECUP is dealing with. Hello, Xavi.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Hi, Monica. I'm going to share my screen. And if you can please let me know if you can see my presentation. Can you see my presentation, Monica?
Yes, it's here.
Okay. So, should I go on?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So, I'm going to first quickly introduce my institute, the Institute of Cosmos Sciences, of which I am the director, as Monica has kindly introduced me. We are part of a larger body, which is the University of Barcelona. So we are a research institute inside a teaching institution, again, the University of Barcelona. We were created in 2006, and our motto, our driving lemma to define the role of the institute is in the middle of this page, and we try to answer 3 fundamental questions about the universe. The first one is, what's the origin and fate of our universe? The second is, which are its ultimate constituents, and the third is why does it have its present appearance. As you can say, or as you can guess, especially the second one, and to some extent the first, is closely related to the work that has just been described by Tamara at CERN, and I will have the chance to deal in more detail about our relationship with CERN. So to do that, we have a broad scope of research lines. We do research in astrophysics, from solar physics to the study of the Milky Way, our galaxy, to cosmology. We also do research on particle and nuclear physics, and as Monica was hinting, gravitation. Gravitation is a strong point we'll have a chance to mention. And also, we do space sciences. We are involved in space missions, and recently we have started working on the building of nanosatellites, the technology of building nanosatellites. So this is a broad description of what we are. Who we are. Currently, we have more than 180 members. That fluctuates from one day to another, obviously. And this includes from permanent staff like professors to PhD students, to postdoc researchers, to engineers, to visiting scholars. And one of those, as I think Luis has mentioned, is our resident artist, Andy, that we share with Anga. And probably he's listening. Hi, Andy. So we are we are not as big as CERN, who's a huge institute, world-class institute, but we are not small either. And from the variety of our research lines and the amount of people we have, as you can guess, we can offer a variety of inputs, insights into several scientific areas. This diagram is a tabular reconstruction of our main research lines, something we show when we try to describe. Let me change my pointer. Okay, so in vertical you see our main research line. They are not the only ones. As I said, we also have things like solar physics and exoplanets, etc., which are not included in the main ones, but those are our more stronger research lines. So we study the galaxy, how it formed and evolved. We study gravitation, general relativity, and maybe beyond at some point. And those two lines try to answer the first one of the questions: why does the universe have its present appearance? Then we have a line on dark matter and neutrinos, and another one on the standard model and beyond, which is standard model and beyond is mostly what Tamara has just described from CERN. And this line, or those two lines, try to answer the question on which are the ultimate constituents of the universe. And then we have a line on dark energy and inflation, which is essentially cosmology, where we try to answer what is the origin and what is the fate of the universe. And across all those lines, we have a technology unit that provides strong support and development and even research on big data and data processing. As we have heard, research today is data-driven, so we need a lot of that. And then electronics and instrumentation. And here in the middle, you can see this red box, where I highlight one of our big projects, which is the team working in the LHCb, one of the instruments of the LHC at CERN. And we do development around this instrument on theory, but also we develop a small part of the instrumentation of or small part of the components of this instrument. So we are tied to CERN. We have a full team working on LHCb and doing particle physics with them. Obviously, we do not only work with LHCb, with CERN, we participate in a wide variety of other projects. Here you have a quick overview from a space missions like Gaia and Euclid to future developments like YAXO, which is an axion telescope, LHCb, obviously, high energy astrophysics. And talking about gravitation, we are partners, we're members of the Virgo consortium. So here in the gravitation part, we have moved from purely theoretical work to experiments on gravitational waves. And we are strongly investing in our involvement in gravitational waves. And this is one of the hot topics that we hope that in the future will provide very interesting results and very interesting research at the Institute. Okay, not only that, being part of the University of Barcelona, we are also very close, very involved in teaching. And we have 3 master studies associated to the Institute. One on astrophysics, particle physics, and cosmology, which is our core master. Another one on nuclear physics, and a new one, very exciting new development, quantum science and technology. Started this year very strongly with more than 30 students. And here we do things like design and development of quantum computers and quantum software. So just mentioning this because we have the opportunity, the chance to provide not only contact with established researchers or PhD students, but also with master students, or even below that, the degree students in our degree of physics at the Faculty of Physics, which I think might be interesting for some people because it's a window, an opportunity to talk to the future scientists, the ones that will be doing science, that will be doing this kind of telecom in 10, 20 years from now. And that hopefully will have a chance to talk about discoveries that we can only dream of just now. Besides teaching, we also have an intense outreach activity. We try to connect with society. We think that it's our duty to bring science to society, like CERN, like other institutions are doing. So we have a full variety of activities, from conferences to public observations of the sun, the stars, the moon, collaborations with other Barcelona institutions. For instance, we participated with Monica in one exhibition about quantum physics in one of the big centers, cultural centers in Barcelona. And we have a couple of outreach pages, one devoted to astrophysics and the other one devoted to particle physics, that we hope to combine in the future. And be welcome to visit our website that we just completely renewed, and you can find a lot of information about us. Regarding this reaching to society, our participation in Collide is precisely trying to get beyond the narrow borders of specialty, our borders of, say, physics, and reach beyond. And reaching beyond means reaching to society, but also reaching to other areas of human knowledge, like art. And that's following this vocation, we got in touch and we got involved in the Collide project, and we have probably hosted already 2 editions, or we are hosting the second of Collide in 19. In fact, in 2020, during the pandemics, we had the honor and the opportunity to interact with Rosa Mencken, and we had a very fruitful set of dialogues with her, with a variety of researchers from the ICC, from the Institute, from astrophysicists to particle physicists to nuclear physicists. Myself, I participated, and I still remember the moment where we got the concept of messenger that made Rosa very happy, very excited about. And I think that, maybe I'm a bit exaggerating, but I think we contributed to something relevant to her work, or at least I hope so, in a frank exchange within scientists and art. And this kind of thing it's good not only for the participants from the art side, but I think also for our scientists to have the chance to step out of their comfort zone and use languages and talk about subjects in a way they are not used to. So we started with Rosa, and this year we have already started the interaction with Black Quantum Futurists. One of the two members of this team already visited us for a first initial interaction. We hope to do more in the coming month or two. And while with Rosa, we were talking about the concept of messenger meaning the particle or what acts as a messenger between the reality and our instrument. We have started talking with BQF about time from the perspective of an astronomer, measurement of time from the perspective of a theoretical physicist, particle physicist, and I already have several ideas that I want to convey in our next interaction, and I offer again, Monica, the opportunity to interact with students, which I think would be interesting for them to have as part of their formation not only the classical, the strict physical subjects that we teach, but also the opportunity to get involved in something wider, different, and important as is art. So I hope I've provided. Let me stop sharing. Did I stop sharing?
Yes, you did.
So I hope I have provided a quick overview of the Institute and the options, opportunities we can offer. And I'm thrilled to welcome the next winner of the Collide Award at ICCUB. Thank you.
Thank you, Xavi. So now we have around, I would say, 20 minutes because we are a bit late. But if everyone can stay a bit longer, we will reply to some of the questions. Before we do that, I'll remind you very important information about dates. The deadline for applying is the 22nd of November. Please send your project by the end of the day, at midnight, in Geneva, so CET time, and the residency can happen will happen in 2022. Okay. So we are usually we discuss the dates with the artist that is selected, and we try to accommodate as much as possible to their schedule. So I'm going to open the questions. We have similar questions. We have many. We might not be able to answer to all of them, but we'll try. So. The first question is very technical, and I think it's important to answer to that because we often have this question asked, is what is the jury looking for in the video component? So we ask for a video, which is a video of a maximum 5 minutes, in which the jury will see it together, and we'll see the motivation as well as a description of the project. Try not to read your project or repeat what is in the description, because we have already read it. Try to contribute with more ideas. What is your vision? Why CERN? Why do you think we can contribute to your project? What is relevant? What idea do you want to emphasize? And how you want to elaborate, and how do you expect to develop your research between CERN during the residency at CERN and Barcelona? So I hope this answers this question. Very important. The video is very important for us. So if your application does not have a video, we might not be able to review it, okay? Bear that in mind. What other questions? How concrete is the proposal supposed to be? Is a clear outcome expected from the proposal, or is it more about the strength of the research idea? This is a question from Rohan Ajinde. I think this is a very important question. Research is the focus of Collide, but there is always and is equally important an outcome. And our work needs to be realized after the residency. We don't expect you to use your time in the residency to develop an artwork, unless you are ready to do so because of the way you work. But the residency is a moment for research. Stop whatever you are doing, come to do the residency with us and get involved in exploration and research. This is what we recommend for the actual dynamics during the residencies, and this is what we are looking for in the proposal: research, exploration, and being open for a change in your proposal at some point. So, is there anyone wants to respond to that? Maybe Luis, you have something to add to this question about research and production during the residencies?
Yes, well, you explained it really well, but I think it is important, and I can stress that after my experience last year with you all in this program, that you are not afraid to undergo transformations of your ideas. And I mean, this will happen for sure. There is another question below saying, do we have to be experts in or researchers in quantum physics? You don't have to be experts. You don't have to be researchers in quantum physics. You just need to be open to get close to that amazing world and let it affect you. So in the 2 years that I've been close in the program, I've been close to the program, I've seen the ideas transform. And this is good if your application is so specific that you already know everything that you will do. Then the question is, why is it interesting for you to take part in the dialogue with scientists and to collaborate with them if everything is already decided? So it is very important that you have the right amount of precision and the right amount of openness about your initial idea that you are submitting.
Thank you, Luis. It's true that this is a recurrent question that we often have. I think for an artist, it's for them to decide what is the scope of their practice. And some artists do a huge emphasis in the research phase, but some other artists want to start to be more hands-on. But please think of what you have listened to when Tamara and Xavi were explaining about the context of research, as well as the research that they conduct in the laboratories. When you think of your project. So feasibility, what we can do for you is very important in the final decision. Are we capable of supporting your proposal? This is an important question. However, we don't expect you to be a scientist, and we don't expect you to prove that you know about science. There were before, and still now in our programs, artists who have slightly, not too rich idea about science, but this is a place for knowledge and for, being ambitious and looking at something that you might want to explore further if you know it. So there is a question about this, the nature of knowledge. Alberto Buglos says, is an art research project mostly focused on epistemology and philosophy of science also applicable? Yes, I would say so. So there is this approach, philosophy of science or sociology of science, is also welcome. These laboratories have been running for a number of years. A history of science is always quite common research that we welcome. Community and collective research or any sociological aspect is really interesting here. So be brave on your proposals. Don't try to confirm with us that you know everything about the research. Be loyal to your own practice. This is something we want to see. Okay, so another question related to that is how much the proposal needs to be detailed about eventual scientific references. This is a question from Marta Lodola. I think, Marta, I think we have replied to this already. Scientific references or references in general are needed as far as they are relevant to your project and to what you want to achieve and how we can support you. But you don't need to prove that you know everything. This is a place we are offering a residency like a carte blanche. You come here and we'll help you and curate the residency. We'll support you on things that you want to know. Okay, so questions. More pragmatic questions, such as what kind of access is granted to the Large Hadron Collider itself, to the experiment, and what type of access to past research and visualizations of collisions? Is there a library or archive at CERN, and is it publicly available online? Yes, to the last question, there is a library, there is an archive, which is an amazing source for dreaming and researching and understanding how science is made. So artists are invited to explore this area as well and supported by our archivists and librarians. What kind of access is granted to the Large Hadron Collider? So if you want to go to the Large Hadron Collider next year, you will not be able to go, because as Tamara explained, the operations are starting very soon, the round 3. The data collecting period is starting soon and the machine will be running. That means that no one can enter the experiments, in the underground experiments where the Large Hadron Collider is located. Why? Because there is radiation, it's not safe, and this is an environment for research. Until very recently, the Large Hadron Collider was accessible, but now, there is other challenges in the laboratory after 2022. As Tamara said, it's not the only experiments that we have. There is over 60 different experiments at CERN, 300 buildings, 15,000 people working at CERN. So it's a very large community, the largest laboratory in the world and the largest community, and 2 months of residency is nothing. You will navigate through different topics, areas, context, experiments, facilities. There is plenty to do, so don't worry about it. I know the Large Hadron Collider is the iconic place. We all love it, but we'll find many things for you to do related to your project. Tamara, maybe you want to say something about this, briefly about the round 3?
Yeah, maybe I wanted also to add, as you said, I mean, it's not possible to access it, but you will be able to witness something that maybe somebody that will be right now here cannot see, which is really how the community gets together and organizes itself to run the operations. And you can, for example, see the control room, the Atlas control room or CMS from the outside and see how we organize, for example, the different desks corresponding to the sub-detectors, the communication. I think this, from an artistic and also sociological point of view, is extremely exciting and quite unique. for such a large collaborations. So yes, that will be part of something that you will be able to witness during your residency.
Thank you, Tamara. And I agree with you. It's one of the most exciting things that you, coming from the outside, we would not expect, but is a really exciting thing that happens. It's like a hive. Things are happening thanks to a collectiveness. And everyone is oriented to a single purpose, and it's a beautiful community. So I think I hope this answers the question of Mile Calmos, who asked similar things when she said, "Could you elaborate more on sociology of science and community?" Mile, I hope this answers your question. Another question from Mireia Saladrigas. Mireia asks us, how many chances could an artist from Barcelona have to be selected? Are you looking for someone that hasn't been working in Barcelona, neither in Hangar? I think the chances of someone from Barcelona to be selected are the same chances that anyone from anywhere else in the world. There is not a criteria that says that this is different for an artist from Barcelona, but there is a little note and a very important one in the criteria, in the conditions and terms of participation that says that at least an honorary mention will be one honorary mention will be from Barcelona. And this honorary mention does not get the main residency, but which is a 3 months residency with fully funded and full support for production as well as research, but allows you eventually to come to CERN for a 3 days visit. So yes, that's the mention to Barcelona's based artist in the criteria. What else? Another important question about how to do things is from Josephine Rutherford. Josephine is asking if the work done at CERN continue at Hangar, or is it a separate project? We expect you to do the same project. It's a continuation. However, we are very open. Many artists end up doing 3 projects or even more. The process of research is something in which we recognize and we accept any variation and transformations into something more meaningful for you. We'll support that if that happens. So if you decide to do 1 project, 2 projects related to separate or joint project, will be supporting that. But in the application, please try to do a single project and leave it for leave this serendipity as part of it. If anyone wants to join this answer, Luis, please be my guest.
I am also checking the questions. There are a lot of interesting questions, but there is one that I think is particularly important by Tina Mamoser. Does the jury look for technology-led art, or are traditional practices such as painting or drawing also welcome? This is very important. I mean, the Collide call, it's not a call for tech art. I mean, of course, in some cases that it's very natural that happens, but this is a call for art in the most general sense of the word that relates somehow to the research being done at CERN. And the relation can be through very different aspects of art and science. So yes, a painter, a performer, someone working with drawing. I mean, of course, this is not limited to technological art. So it's very important to bear that in mind.
In relation to that, I would recommend you to check on previous artists. You will see many different profiles. Some people are more, if you want, formalistic and more connected to the sciences of nature and how technology helps to depict nature. But some other artists work with another medium. And Black Quantum Futurism is working with philosophy, science fiction, performance, music. Rosa Menkman is working with internet art, if you want to call it this way, and digital technologies. But the variety is very large. So I could encourage you to come with a proposal that seduces us and we think is something that we can support. So I think we'll be able to respond to maybe 2 more questions. Many of the questions are very similar. Claudia Chiroli is asking, what is research-led mean? So research-led means that your proposal requires and it will expand and it will be accompanied by the research and explorer spirit, field work as well. So there are many ways to do field work at CERN. Imagine that you will be visiting, exploring, talking to many different people, and CERN is a very large territory in between 2 countries. So you will be able to do a lot with any medium that you choose on understanding and checking the environment. So this is what research is. We don't mean that academic research. This is not what we mean. We don't expect to receive PhD proposals or academic works. We don't ask for that, but take it as a very open term for you to explore your project during the residencies, okay?
I see, if you allow me, Monica, so you can also rest a bit. I see 2 questions that I think are important to encourage emerging artists to apply. One by EM, how important is a portfolio and past work to your decision? And that is related to a question by Sebastián Duque Mesa, to extend to the portfolio questions. Are emerging artists also welcome to apply? How evaluation is done if they don't have a large body of work? Well, if you look into past awarded artists, of course there is an important presence of very good, very established artists. But it is very important that what it's being, the important part in this is the project you submit. I mean, how coherent, how interesting, how daring, so of course, very good artists with a long experience they know how to submit a very good project, but what is very important is that it's a very good project, that it makes sense, and it's important that it goes to CERN, and it contributes to a strong relation of art and science. And I've seen, very important artists submitting a poor project, and then that would never be selected. So it's important, and it's very important that you are confident in that, because I have taken part in the jury and I can tell. So it's very, in this program, we have the courage to give the chance to very good projects. And this is the most important thing, that the project you submit, that it's very good, that it's very coherent, and that it makes sense in the specific context of this program. So if you are an artist that don't have that long career, but you submit a very good project, you have a good chance to succeed. This is very, very, very important.
That's very important indeed, Luis. We are not looking for consolidated artists. We are open to the proposals. That's the focus. So I'm going to, there are so many questions that we could keep going. I'm going to quickly answer two more, which have a very brief answer. So can we, someone, Gillian Roders, can we apply as a duo even if we are not an official collective? Yes, do it. We don't need you to be an official collective. You can apply as a duo if the project is relevant for the two of you. And Franz Jovan, during the residency, do we have access to experimental physicists that might not be directly connected to the project? Yes. You, in fact, we expect you to be part of many conversations and connections and interactions with people and experiments that are unrelated to your project. But we think there is a final contribution. You will see the impact of connecting to other spheres that you might not know, and it might be valid for your project. So diversity is very important for us, as well as connecting with as many scientists as possible in CERN and in Barcelona. Okay, so I think it's time to go. There is an email in which you can send us questions. This email is in our website. Please read the terms and conditions of the call. There are many of the answers you are looking for are there. If you have any doubt, give us a shout. It will be responding questions over email. And please be courage. I think it's a very important moment in which we can look at the diverse views, new perspectives, all perspectives as well from different mediums and disciplines. And we are lucky to have the laboratories and the scientific community supporting us. So thank you very much, Xavi, Tamara, Luis, Julia, and everyone who is behind the cameras, the team of Vanguard and Arts at CERN and Barcelona Ciencia supporting us. And have a very good evening, all of you, and see you very soon.